In this video, we're going to look at the topic of simple interest. There's a formula that we will use, and we'll start out by looking at that formula and each of the individual pieces, and then we'll move on to doing a couple of examples. Here's the formula for simple interest. It is I equals P times R times T. The I represents the amount of interest, and you'll know to use this formula because the problem will tell you that it is simple interest. The P represents what's known as the principal, which is the starting amount. The R represents the interest rate. And when we use this formula, when we plug in, we're always going to convert that interest rate from a percent into a decimal. And then finally, the T represents time. And time is always expressed in terms of years. What I mean by that is, if something is invested for 6 months, that would be 1/2 of a year. So when we plug in for T, we're going to use 0.5. Make sure that you're always expressing time in terms of years. Now let's look at a couple of examples using this formula for simple interest. Find the amount of interest earned if $700 is invested at 4% simple interest for 12 years. One of the nice things about these problems is it tells us exactly which formula to use, because it says right in the problem that our money has been invested at 4% simple interest. So we know we're going to use the formula for simple interest, which is I equals P times R times T. We want to be careful and make sure we plug in everything in the appropriate spots. Here we're asked to find the amount of interest that was earned. So we're looking for I. P is the principal. That's how much was invested. That was $700, so that's going to go in where P is. R is the interest rate, which is 4%. We got to make sure to convert that to a decimal, so that's going to be 0.04. And then time is 12 years, and so we'll use 12 for T. Now I've plugged everything into my formula. I just need to be careful with my calculation. Here I'm just multiplying everything together, and I find out that the amount of interest that was earned was $336. And that's the answer to our question here. The question asked, how much interest would you earn? We solved for I, and we found out that it was $336. Let's look at one more. After a period of 5 years, a $300 investment is now worth $520. What was the simple interest rate for this investment? So we're told that it's simple interest, so we know the formula we're going to use here is I equals P times R times T. This problem's a little bit different from the last one, however, because here we are asked to find the rate. So now, instead of looking for I, we're looking for R. We're going to plug in for all the other values, and then we're going to use a little bit of algebra to find R. So let's see here. We've got to plug in for I, the amount of interest that was earned. As I look over the problem, that wasn't given to me. I am told that it was a $300 investment, and it's now worth $520. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of subtraction, 520 minus 300, and find out that the amount of interest that was earned here was $220. Now I know the amount of interest that was earned, and I can plug that into my formula. So the amount of interest that was earned was $220. The principal, P, the amount of money that was initially invested, was $300. R is the thing that I'm looking for, so we'll leave that as R. And T is time. How many years? Oh, I see that. That was 5 years. So now I've got everything plugged into my formula. I just need to solve this for R, and I'll have my interest rate. The first thing I'll do here is simplify on the right hand side by multiplying the 300 by the 5, and I'll have 220 is equal to 1,500 times r. I'm one step closer to having this solved for r. The next thing I need to do is I got to try to get that r by itself, so I am going to divide both sides by 1,500. When I divide by 1,500 on the right, those cancel, leaving just the r, which is where I'm trying to get to. And then on the left, I have 220 divided by 1,500, which is 0.14666. Now I've got my value for r, but it's in decimal form. Here I was asked, what is the simple interest rate? So I want to make sure and report that as a percentage, not as a decimal. So I need to convert this decimal to a percent. I'll move the decimal point 2 places, and I will have that the interest rate is 14.67%. We want to make sure to answer a question about an interest rate with a percent rather than a decimal, and be very careful to answer the question that's being asked. This question asks us for the interest rate, so that's what we want to give as our answer.